sombra de un mezquite, aquí el hombre se encontraba.
Welcome to the Mr. Boxing Guru podcast. Guys, it is me, Sal, Mr. Boxing Guru, once again coming to you a little later in the week, but nonetheless, I had to make a podcast, man. It's a thing now where I have to do it. I want to do it. I'm looking forward to doing it for whatever reason or not. Sometimes I don't. But the fact of the matter is que aquí estamos, we're here, we're ready to go. Of course, that intro that you heard was from Los Anaya. Big shout out to Los Anaya. Some of you, as a matter of fact, we'll get into them a little later because some of you guys actually got to listen to them aside from my podcast, and that was on the Zone app this past weekend on the I think they brought out the co-main event fighter this weekend, so we'll talk about that a little later. But first things first, let's talk about the fight that actually happened this weekend, which was Vergil Ortiz versus Antonio Orozco. Of course, as we all know by now, Ortiz became the man to beat, one of the elites at the welterweight division. And this came by Vergil Ortiz knocking out Antonio Orozco. I believe it was the 6th round now. Great fight by both, because you know what? Antonio Orozco, say what you want, he's always going to give you the best of his possible ability. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be shy to get in there and bang, and that's what he is. He's a banger. You know, of course, he has certain limitations, but nonetheless, he's a great fighter that fights with his heart, and I respect that. There's a lot of skill involved with what he does as well, but, you know, his shortcoming, of course, has been making weight at 140. He's grew that division, in my opinion, but at the same time, there's certain height he has that I don't think he can catch up with that he has a height, I guess you could say, that won't let him compete at the highest level at 147. I think 147 suits him well, but I don't think it's a fight that he should be fighting at. Unlike Vergil Ortiz, Vergil Ortiz came from 140, and he looks like he was ripping at the seams. I mean, he just looked like a huge 140, and at 147, looks like he has a frame to be a 154-pounder. But again, he's just a big guy. But let's talk about what's next for Orozco, because I don't think, look, kid has two losses versus the same gym mates. But 2 losses versus in my opinion, the elite of you know what RGBA has to offer, and the elite of the 140, and arguably the best 140 pounder in Ramirez a couple of months back, and now in the best prospect at 147 pounds and soon to be contender, or in my opinion now after this fight, contender. So there's no shame in that. He lost to 2 legit dudes. I think there's plenty of fights out there for Orozco, evenly matched fights. And of course, you know, you guys know who the fighters are. You know, I know there's a lot of guys in PBC, but there's guys like, you know, maybe even Chia Santana that are out there. You know, guys that are out there that could give a great account of themselves that I think could be matched right against a guy like Antonio Orozco. But let's talk about Vergil Ortiz, a special thing that he did this weekend. Because you know what, in my opinion, I thought it was going to be a bit more shaky. Golden Boy hasn't been having the best of luck when it comes to his prospects, especially prospects. I'm sorry, turning into contenders. So there's been that gap, that almost, or that hump that their prospects haven't been able to jump. Vergil Ortiz did it with flying colors. He did great. Again, I think it was 3 knockdowns in the 6 rounds. You know, to the ref said no mas. I mean, that's it. That was legit, man. I mean, this is as good as a developmental process as you could possibly get. And I think a kid like Vergil Ortiz is getting the same treatment that another fighter will get from Golden Boy. It's just that with most fighters, you're quick to blame the matchmaker and whatnot, but here Vergil is getting the tough test. I think he's only 14 fights in, and he's getting legit guys like Antonio Orozco. He's gotten solid veterans like the Riverside kid he fought his previous fight, and so they're steadily tough tests that he's continuing to fight. Now, those fighting veterans, it's not exactly over. He still has, again, in my opinion, room to get developed, room to refine his skills, because I think he's quite a bit away from fighting those top guys, like the Errol Spences and whatnot. But let's talk about what can happen right now, because look, we're not going to focus on the PBC guys, because we know that's a non-factor. I think guys fighting outside of the PBC, it makes it extremely difficult to get them on, and I think a guy like Andy Ruiz is a prime example, a guy that had a predetermined contract to fight not Deontay Wilder, but Anthony Joshua, I'm sorry, and somehow, some way, I have a huge feeling that it's going to turn into a big, ugly fight between Matchroom and PBC, but again, that's a whole other story. But what I'm trying to say is, let's not talk about the PBC guys, because one, let's not get ahead of ourselves, but two, let's just make or design, I guess you could say, Vergil Ortiz's career in the next, maybe, I would say, 12, 16 months. So, in my opinion, if you were to give me the opportunity, me the keys to develop this kid, again, it's easier now that we know what he can do, that he won't get, he has whiskers, he could take a punch. I think we're finding out everything as the fights go along, and I think you could step him up a little different. I think you could step him up, not necessarily against the best, like I said, at 147, but definitely you could step him up against good names. Golden Boy has decent names at 147. Guys that are a bit obscure, but nonetheless that could fight, that could crack, that are ranked. First things first, if I had the ability to move Vergil Ortiz, the first fight that I would go out there, and I think it would probably be the easiest fight to get to, would be, he just fought in August. Let's go ahead and throw him in there in November. Throw him in there in November versus a guy like Saddam Ali. And let's do what they did with Golovkin, which they kind of paraded him around the country. So he actually had a decent fan base in the States. Again, a perfect fight for me would be for him in November. Throw him in New York against a guy like Saddam Ali. Put him in Ali's hometown. He's going to be able to sell a couple of tickets. Throw him in the Garden, the small room in the Garden. Why not? PBC has the backing for it. Let's do it. I'm sure they'll pay a great site fee for it. DAZN will. So why not? Let's do that. I think watching a guy like Vergil Ortiz move around with a guy like Saddam Ali will help him. He'll help him fight those future good boxers in the future. And I think all around is an easy fight for Golden Boy to make, since they're in the same stable. It could easily be argued that, a guy like Saddam Ali beat a guy like Miguel Cotto, even if a guy like Miguel Cotto was at the end of his career. But the fact of the matter is, on paper, a guy like Saddam Ali has a win over one of the greats, which was Miguel Cotto. Again, that's fight number one that I personally would do with a guy like Vergil Ortiz. Next, again, let him rest a little bit, throw him in the camp right away. Have him fight in February. Who would he fight in February? Rashidi Ellis. Rashidi Ellis is a solid kid, a good fighter at 47. Why not? A guy that can move, a guy that has good legs, a guy that's just not going to get there and try to bang with Vergil Ortiz, because we got to look. We get it. Vergil Ortiz could bang. He's there to fight. He can find you as well, but I think it's a good idea to make him fight these guys that are going to move, that are not going to present an easy target for him, that are going to give him rounds. I think that type of fight was good for the kid. And yes, I think eventually he has the ability to stop him, but it's good to see the hunt, especially with a guy like Vergil. I would love to see him hunt. I like the way he stalks his fighters. I like the way he sets up traps. So why not? A guy like Rashidi Ellis will give him great rounds. Will give him an honest work. And again, it's not an easy part, but I definitely think it'll be a great fight. Again, this is February, so again, good enough time. At this point, again, after February, I would love to see him, and maybe in a Canelo undercard, lift his profile, throw him back in Vegas, throw him against a guy like Thomas Delorme. One of the key points here, fighting a guy like Delorme, is that he would almost go back and fight old camp members, or I'm not necessarily sure if it's old camp members, but I think Delorme gets trained by the great Joel Diaz. Pairing him up again, a guy with good legs, a guy that can move around, a guy that fought God, I can't remember this other the zone guy, but Jesse Vargas. I'm sorry, he fought Jesse Vargas, gave a good account of himself. So why not? Again, these are all measuring sticks that you can get with the kid. You're not necessarily putting him in against the Wolves, but you are putting him in against the Cubs, or past his prime Wolves. But nonetheless, guys that could give you great work and to give you a good scorecard at the end of the fight. You want to know how they feel, how they look, how can you compare them to past elite fighters that these guys have faced. Again, developmental fights. The guy's only 14 fights in. By the time this Thomas Delorme fight happens, again, he would be 17 fights in. I'm sorry, not 17 now, 15, 16, 17 fights in. So why not? I think it makes sense. At this point in May, again, if all goes well and if all goes well to plan, give him an old veteran. Give him an old veteran with a name. Give him an old veteran that's great for highlight reels. Why not give him a veteran like Amir Khan? Yes, I know everybody's going to say, you know what, Amir Khan's been knocked out by everybody. You know what? So why not give Vergil Ortiz a highlight reel? Let Vergil Ortiz get his knockout versus Khan. Again, Khan has proven time after time that he has the legs, he has the abilities to move around with the best. He moved around with Canelo. He moved around to a certain extent with at a more recent time with Bud Crawford. Again, arguably Bud Crawford beat him every round, but again, it'll give you a good assessment of what a guy like Vergil Ortiz has at this point. How can he move? How can he compare? You could compare performances without putting him in against the Wolves. Compare the performance between Amir Khan and Vergil Ortiz, how they both did versus a guy like Amir Khan. Again, this would be on a September date on a Canelo undercard. I think there's enough money. I think I would think the zone isn't the zone's best interest to fork up the money to be able to get these type of opponents at this point that'll really be worth a decent buck. Again, I understand what people are saying. You know what? Everybody knocks out Amir Khan, so why not test him versus a young guy? I would like to, again, my whole point to this is having Vergil Ortiz fight guys with speed, guys that'll give him a bit of trouble, but guys that he will enjoy the hunt. You would enjoy the hunt watching this young kid hunt these type of fighters. And again, Amir Khan can still crack. I mean, he can still crack. Yes, he's chinny, but he's a solid fighter while he's up. Again, not to the knockout. And after that, why not cash a couple of favors? I would say in December versus with from Top Rank. It seems that Golden Boy always get the raw end of the deal when it comes to co-fights with Top Rank. They always bring in what you could say is a B-side. They did it with Linares. They've done it again time after time when Manny Pacquiao was with them, and they brought Lucas Matisse. Again, when it comes to these big fights, Golden Boy seems to be the B-side, and I get it. They're willing to make the fights. They're willing to sacrifice their popular guy. So I think it's in everybody's best interest if they were to make a make a fight. Versus Jose Benavidez Jr. I think Jose Benavidez Jr. has a good name. I think he'll sell the fight very well. I think he'll talk a lot of shit. I think in my opinion, he's an older veteran that should show a great account of himself. So why not? I think it's a great fight. So just to recap what I just said, and again, I'm sorry about the rants. I know we go a little long on these, and that was Winston barking there. But Vergil Ortiz first fighting Saddam Ali, Rashidi Ellis after Thomas Delorme, Amir Khan, and ending with Jose Benavidez Jr. to end 2020. I think that'll be a great run. That'll be enough time to really push the fights and make this kid a legitimate star. And then after December of 2020, really throw him out to the Wolves. Really see what he has. Does he have the abilities to beat Danny Garcia? Does he have the abilities to go after the top names at 147? The Errol Spences, the Sean Porters. Then why not? Let's compete with PBC. Let them bring on their best versus a Golden Boy's best. Let's see how well the kid does at that point. If he's able to pass those those tests with flying stars, then let's move this kid forward. I think he's the good, but again, I still think intelligent matchmaking needs to be done. In my opinion, again, I have never done matchmaking. I'm just speaking, as a fan's perspective, but based on my fan perspective, I think this is the perfect run. Again, that is Saddam Ali, Rashidi Ellis, Thomas Delorme, Amir Khan, Jose Benavides Jr., all in that order by the end of 2020. That, I think, will give him a great, great career. As far as his fight, what did I think of his last performance? I think he did great. He had never been pushed back to a certain extent, I guess you could say. I think he was. I think he was able to overcome it. I think he learned from this fight. And I think he's going to be a better fighter as the time goes on. Again, only time will tell. So far, he's passed every single step with flying stars. I think you can continue to do that as long as you don't put him over his head. I think Vergil Ortiz is going to be a fighter, the fighter that Golden Boy always needed. And I think he'll be a great star to take over from what Canelo seems to be missing or whatnot. But again, that's a whole nother podcast. But let's take it on to the co-main event, because on the co-main event we saw Oscar Negrete and Joshua Franco fight to another draw. It seems like there's been 37 draws already. I mean, I don't know how much more you guys can take it. I can't. I don't want to watch this shit anymore, man. Look, the best thing about the Negrete versus Joshua Franco fight was that, again, like I said earlier, Los Anaya actually introduced Negrete. It was kind of a you know what, I'm here with you guys kind of performance, because they were there to introduce the Colombian Negrete into the pro-Mexican crowd. So I get it. It was worth it. It was great exposure for my guys. Los Anaya, which are great people. Raul and Christian Anaya, again, like I always say, go follow them, check them out. They did great on the zone. But again, they introduced the Colombian, best performers of the Colombian, just because of the Los Anaya were there. But the fact of the matter is that this fight has been done 3 times. Each fight looks exactly the same. It's an argument of who won, and really not even an argument, because I don't. If somebody tells me, "Oh, this guy won," they'll be like, "Okay." If somebody contradicts my point on who won, I'm okay with it, because honestly, at this point, I don't give a fuck. I'm done with this shit. Look, both of these guys can knock each other out. I understand why Joshua can. I don't understand why Negrete can't. And just to give you a little backstory on this, look, these guys fight at a certain weight. What, 118 or I'm not sure. They fight at a higher weight. 118, I believe. Negrete was given the opportunity to fight for a championship belt at 122 pounds versus the Mexican guy that looks like Esqueleto. Ray Vargas, I believe his name is. Obviously, he didn't do well. He was given the opportunity to obviously use as an opponent, and that's what happened there. He didn't do much, and then didn't win the fight. Gave the performance of his life, but again, didn't do much. And so did Joshua Franco to a certain extent. Because Joshua Franco, let's be quite honest here. Joshua Franco is not a guy that belongs at 118. He's a guy that belongs at 115 pounds. He's not a big guy. The only reason why he's fighting the bigger Negrete is because there's no fights for him at 115 pounds, not at the local level. I mean, if he fights in Japan, sure, he'll get a couple of fights, but the fact of the matter is that he's not going to get any type of fights here. So he has to move up in weight. He has to go and fight the bigger guys like Negrete, and yes, like Negrete fought Ray Vargas, but the fact of the matter is that Negrete can't even knock out the smaller guy, the guy that they're giving the opportunity for him to look good. He can't do that. What's the upside in having these two? Joshua Franco, I understand. He's a young kid. You could capitalize on him. Young American kid, Mexican kid. You could capitalize on him, moving him and pushing him in Texas. Eventually, he could fight a Neri. Eventually, he could be, I don't know, maybe an opponent for a Chocolatito. I mean, something to that effect. You can, if you move the kid right. So there's a plus side in a guy like Joshua Franco. In Negrete, there's absolutely nothing that Golden Boy could do but waste their money. It's not like he's a ticket seller. It's not like, he's a fan favorite. Yeah, he's put on a couple of great performances, but they've been performances of a lifetime. I mean, they can't sell a ticket to save their life if you fight him out here in California, and that's where he's a native of California now. So what is there good to do about that? Absolutely nothing. So about the card, about the fight, my assessment again on Negrete versus Joshua Franco, I don't care anymore. I want to see him. Sure, I will see him, but I will see him against other different people. I really hope that's it. 3 fights for the young kids is too much, in my opinion, and it's a fight that I do not want to see ever again. Who I was impressed with in my sick way was Hector Tanajara. Hector Tanajara got the win. He's a kid that's been putting... it goes back to what Golden Boy does. They were putting in these guys in tough. Yes, they're not gonna look their greatest, but because they're putting them in against actual tests, these guys are passing them. Maybe he's barely passing them, but the fact of the matter is that he's passing them. One interesting point that Hector Tanajara said after his post fight that he wants to fight with Ryan Garcia. I know that's a fight that him and his father have always wanted. They've been salivating over a fight. I've been very open about a guy like Tanajara fighting a guy like Ryan, because I think not that he's gonna stop him or anything, because I think Tanajara has enough power to keep you honest, but he's not a killer. I get it. You don't have to be a killer. A boxer puncher, I'm fine with him being a boxer puncher, but as long as he gives me an honest effort on each and every fight, I'm good. Can he beat a guy like Ryan? Sure. Why not? Give him the fight. But don't pretend that he was not, worthy of fighting a kid like Ryan. He's absolutely worthy of fighting a kid like Ryan. He has the ability to fight a kid like Ryan. He's at Ryan's weight. Unlike Ryan, where he's fighting the much smaller guys. Unlike Ryan, where he said a guy like Duno isn't worthy of his fight, but then again he finds Usher's Usher and picks him as an opponent. Boxing is fucked up. Boxing has a lot of divas, and Ryan's one of them. But let's switch gears, because I think that's enough with that fight card. We have a good fight card coming up this weekend, and of course, let's get to it, because I really want to talk about it. There's one fight in particular that I'm really looking forward to, and that is Emmanuel Navarrete versus Francisco Panchito de Vaca in a 12-round decision for Navarrete's WBO junior featherweight title. And this will be here in Los Angeles at the LAFC stadium, I guess you could see. I think it's called the Bank of California Stadium, and it will be on ESPN and ESPN Deportes. Good fight. My opinion, I will say it here. Panchito's my guy. We started working with Panchitos with Adidas Boxing, like maybe about a fight ago. It's Panchito's first time in the big stage. Yes, this is the big step up, but when you're Panchito's 18 fights in, 19 fights in, when a opportunity like this comes knocking, and you're not gonna say no to it. This is the perfect example of when a fighter gets an opportunity to fight for a belt, you fucking take it. You've been training your ass off since you were a kid, and now you're planted with the opportunity to fight in one of the biggest stages there is in boxing. You're fighting in a brand new stadium that's meant for soccer. It's gonna house God knows how many fans, but you're fighting for a belt, for a legitimate belt, a belt that I think Jesse Magdaleno had for a bit. Then Dogboe beat him for it. Then Emmanuel came and Navarrete came and beat Dogboe. Then he beat him again. And now Panchito de Vaca steps up to the plate. They offer him a championship belt and he goes for it. Why not? I'm all for it. Am I going? Look, is Panchito's back against the wall? Sure. But isn't everybody's when they fight for a belt? Is he going to win? I hope so. I think so. I believe he will. If he doesn't, then so what? But the fact of the matter, he's going to try. He's going to try to fight. He's going to try to win. And in my opinion, he will win the fight. We'll get another upset. It's the year of the Michoacano in boxing, and Michoacanos have been having great success. And I don't think this weekend's going to be any different. So I got Panchito being crowned as the new WBO champion. If I eat crow, I don't care. But I am rocking with Panchito. As far as the co-main event again is Jesse Magdaleno versus Rafael Rivera. Interesting 10-round featherweight traction. I think this is at featherweight now, so this is interesting. So good for them. Another of the local kids that's fighting is Arnold Barbosa. I've been following Arnold for a couple of fights already. His last fight, again, he's 140. Pounder, beautiful boxer punch. He moves very well. Charismatic kid. If you guys haven't seen Arnold Barbosa fight, he's really a treat to watch. So I would really recommend if you guys live in the Southern California area, just go to the fights, man. It should be fun. Or again, watch it on ESPN. But I would suggest going to the fights. I'm going to the fights. I'm going to go and of course, cheer my guy on, and then hopefully he gets the win. The card has a couple of other favorites. I think Javier Molina fighting Manuel Mendez in a 8-round junior welterweight fight. So there's a lot of junior welterweights in this fight. There's welterweight. There's a Brian Mendoza fighting, of course, a decent guy. There's a couple of lightweights, junior light welterweights as well. So it's interesting fight, interesting card. Again, not the most promoted card, but I definitely think it's going to be one of those cards that are going to be fun to watch. So I didn't do the Ask Guru segment this week because you know what, I've been meaning to do the podcast for a couple of days now. Haven't had a chance to actually sit down and do some research on what's going on, but that's it. I just wanted to speak to you guys from the heart, what I think, what I know. I made a couple of notes, but you guys know how that goes. You guys know I don't really do notes. The other news is, of course, Reese and Anthony Joshua talk about fighting in Saudi Arabia. One guy is saying it looks like he's blowing smoke, which is Eddie Hearn. And you know what? It comes to a point where I don't even care anymore. In my opinion, a guy like Joshua was giving away golden tickets for a golden opportunity, and Andy Reese took it. Did he deserve the win? He deserves every accolade he's received so far for beating a guy like Anthony Joshua. He deserves every single penny that he's gotten. He deserves that house that he's been promoting, that he purchased. He deserves the cars. He deserves the rings. But what Anthony Joshua also deserves is his rematch that it was contractually obligated. And that's, you see, people sometimes say, oh, you know what, you hate Heyman, you don't even have a reason for. These are the type of reasons why I despise, or I'm not going to even say despise, it's not even there anymore. I just don't like Heyman because they make things complicated. I think Andy's a hood guy. He's a neighborhood guy. He's a Hispanic guy. He gave his word. He signed a contract saying, you know what, you're going to get X amount of millions for this fight, for the first fight with Anthony Joshua, and on the rematch you're going to get, this amount of money. He believed enough in himself to sign the contract and say, yes, I'm going to fight for that amount of money. However, the fact of the matter is that he hasn't, or he's not okay. They're not promoting the fight as they should. It almost seems like something's going wrong. Yes, they had agreed on the fight already. It was a immediate rematch. They had a rematch clause. Why isn't it being promoted? Why is one guy saying yes, the other guy is saying no? Why is a fight in Saudi Arabia? Why doesn't Anthony Reese want to fight in Saudi Arabia? He knocked the guy out. He's not going to need any judges. He should do the same thing if he gets a guy like Anthony Joshua hurt again. So I don't understand Why? Well, yes, I do. And it's Al Heyman. Al Heyman seems to put doubt in whatever their fighters do. Al Heyman believed, in my opinion, that a guy like Andy Ruiz was going to lose the first fight. That's why he was allowed to fight out there. He didn't believe in a guy like Andy Ruiz. Like, let's be honest, most of us didn't, but he still let him fight because there was enough money to make with Andy for himself and for Andy. And now he's not allowing him to fight again. I think he has a different trick up his sleeves. I think he would rather keep the fight in-house and have Andy fight Wilder. But again, that's just a whole other story. And that's when boxing gets ugly. When the good fights that are supposed to happen, when the great stories that are not supposed to happen get tainted by a guy like Al Heyman. Al Heyman is why boxing is bad. Al Heyman is why people make fun of boxing. Al Heyman is the reason why a lot of good fights do not get made. Wow, that was kind of weird. But you know what? That's it. I think this is it for this week. I saw some other stories about De La Hoya saying everything's okay with him and Canelo and Ryan Garcia, and and honestly, that shit doesn't matter. It's all a publicity stunt. I don't care for it. Let me know when the fights are done. I've been tired of having this Canelo wins, Canelo gonna fight countdown. It hasn't happened. But what is going to happen is next week's episode. Guys, thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for listening to the rant. Again, remember to download the app on what is it? Spotify, Spreaker, YouTube, iTunes. Just search for the Mr. Boxing Guru Podcast. Again, that's the Mr. Boxing Guru Podcast, and I will be there. See you guys later. Again, thank you for listening to the Mr. Boxing Guru Podcast. Thank you.
Los demás de la acordada de aquellos se sorprendieron. Si quieren pueden matarme, que yo ya vengué a mis viejos. Dicen que lo fusilaron, otros que se fue muy lejos.